Hello, friends. Ellen Vaughn here. I hope you're well. And I've been asked a lot over the last few weeks, what does it mean, the authorized biography of Elisabeth Elliot? Here we have Being Elisabeth Elliot, newly available, and certainly Volume 1, which came out a couple years ago, Becoming Elisabeth Elliot. Both of them had this cute little sticker, authorized biography. And so this is your official tutorial on what that may mean. Now, certainly anyone is free to write a biography about anyone he or she chooses. That's basically an unauthorized biography. But certainly in the case of Elisabeth Elliot, and a lot of people like her, in her case, she had talked to a dear, dear friend many, many years ago, as well as her family members, and asked the friend in particular to be the steward of her story. And it was understood that the friend would then seek out someone to write Elizabeth's biography when the time came. And so happily, a few years ago, I was minding my own business, and that friend, through my dear agent, got in touch with me. And we had a wonderful meeting to see if there was a chemistry, a certain kindred spirit, if you will, certainly between us, but also with Elisabeth Elliot herself. And somehow I must have passed muster, and so I was asked if I would, in fact, do Elizabeth's authorized biography. And so what that has meant is simply that a lot of cooperation from family members and the incredible gift of Elizabeth's private papers, not gift, I should say, loan. And so all of her journals, her correspondence that is not held by Wheaton College or other places that are repositories of her papers, and everything from shopping lists of books she had read every year. And it was like a treasure trove of all of these materials that were the clues to who was this woman? What were her inner thoughts? Certainly she had left an enormous paper trail of correspondence that's available to everyone, and also certainly her books. But what I loved in these private writings is you can really see the private person. And Elisabeth didn't reveal a whole lot of that in public. And I found that I liked that private person very much. And I found her relatable. So really, if the thing that I love the most, indeed, were the many, many journals. And Elisabeth kept meticulous journals from the time she was 11 years old. That journal is falling apart and is written in pencil. And on the outside, it says, "No boys allowed." So we can all understand that if we think back to our journals when we were young. And then the journals all through the World War II years when she was in college, and her early days on the mission field, and her long and arduous relationship with Jim Elliot, and her marriage to him, and their ministry together, and the excitement of giving birth to little Valerie. And then, of course, the darkest chapter, when her journals are the paper trail of her heart, where her journals show some of the agonies that she did not reveal in her public writings about the violent loss of her much-loved first husband, Jim Elliot. And then in the material, really, that this volume 2 of her authorized biography, this is the middle section of her life, and the journals roll on, and her, thank the Lord, she had beautiful handwriting, easy to read, and the accounts of her days, the grand, shocking surprise for Elisabeth when she fell wildly, passionately, surprisingly in love in her middle-age years. And the story that I tell in Being Elisabeth Elliot about the love match that God gave her in Addison Leach, And then in the horror recounted in her journal, day by agonizing day, as he lost his life bit by bit to a terrible metastasizing cancer. And then the journal entries as she took up the gift, as she called it, of widowhood again. The journal entries of that I can relate with so well now as a new widow myself. Of, oh Lord, now what do you have for me? Show me how to walk in your paths. And so I have to tell you that in these uniquely available to me journal entries, I wish you could see them, but just as the pages roll on, there is such a strange feeling of, I know what's going to happen, and she doesn't. Her life is unfolding page by page by page here. And I know in the passage of the years since she wrote these words, when they were fresh and new, of what happened to her. And in that, in the stewardship, if you will, of handling someone else's life, there is such a responsibility to speak the truth as you see it, it's been entrusted to you, the stewardship of the story. Speak the truth in love. And I must say that when the family asked me to take on this project, there was never any sense of, we want you to tell the story a certain way. No, they gave me all of these riches of Elisabeth's materials and their blessing to write the story as God revealed it to me. Certainly that was the way that Elisabeth wrote the 2 biographies that she authored in her own life. So for me, the takeaway personally also is, I think of all of our journals. I don't know if you journal. You may want to burn your journals before you pass away, just saying. But anyway, I think of, the Psalm 139, where the psalmist is saying, oh Lord, all the days ordained for me, were they not all written in your book before even a one of them came to be? And that sense that, yes, as we write in our little earthly journals, as we live our lives day by day by day in this broken world, we, like Elisabeth Elliot in her story, we don't know what's coming. But God's grace is absolutely sufficient day by day by day. And that was the faith that sustained Elisabeth through significant suffering. She says in her journal, in this journal, that she loved Addison Leach more than Jim Elliot. He was the love of her life, and yet he was taken away. Yet God sustained Elisabeth day by day, and he can sustain all of us in whatever it is that comes into our path. Thanks for listening in.